Hi, it's Dave. Welcome to episode 243. Today I'm joined by Meet Kevin. Welcome, Kevin. How are you doing?
Hey, great. Thank you so much for having me. This is super exciting. I'm jumping up and down to see what kind of questions you're going to grill me with. I was a little anxious, but I'm excited.
Yeah, it's fun. I can't I'm excited because I think you're making a lot of waves this past year on YouTube and in financial media. I think people are underestimating the power of YouTube, and not just YouTube, but of people rising up, owning their own information, finding out what's going on. So can you kind of, I'm curious, I want to start out with kind of hearing kind of your perspective on your channel on YouTube, what kind of impact you think you're doing, but also then move into a little bit of your background with, real estate, how you got into stocks, and kind of ask some viewer questions as well. So what's going on with YouTube, man? What's been happening? It seems like there's been a breakout year last year or something in 2020.
It's been incredible and certainly totally unexpected. I mean, I think I went into last year with like 200,000 subscribers or something like that. I mean, it's been insane. Wow. But I'll tell you, one of the things that is so exciting is, somebody sent me this letter, and yesterday I read it on a live stream, and it really kind of helped me understand why I'm doing this. I'll just read a portion of this, not all of it, but this is from Christina. She goes, "You have literally changed my life with all the wisdom you've shared. I was able to hit #1 sales in our department this year because I was motivated to put more money into investments. I had $0 in stocks, then started investing in September, and now I have $28,000. I paid off all my credit cards, raised my score, have enough funds to buy a home, and am currently looking for a wedge deal." Like, that is so cool. I'm so happy to if I'm having that kind of impact, that's the kind of stuff I want to have more of. Like, I love that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, so like, I'm wondering if you could kind of go into your psyche a bit, because like you're pumping up so much content, and it's so diverse too. Sometimes it's on stimulus, sometimes it's on stocks, sometimes it's on something else. But what gets you up in the morning, and what's going through your head when you have a choice between making just one video versus really going all out and just, like doing as much as you can?
I've done that. And the problem with for me right now, going all out is doing like 10 hours of research on a stock video and putting that all together. Like, that excites me because not only do I love the research that I get to do and the information that I get to share, but I don't need fancy effects and stuff like, whatever to share that information. There are, I think it comes down almost to the demographic you're trying to appeal to. When, back when I used to do the more like once a week flashy edits and all this work, there was a lot more of a vlog Kevin than an info Kevin. And what I found is, people listen to my content even if I'm filming on a toaster and the quality is garbage. They care about the value. Like, are they able to watch that video, walk away, and learn something? If they didn't learn something, then it's like, why come back to the channel? And so it all comes down to this theory of providing value, which is something that I took from real estate. And the more I always found as a real estate agent, even the more I did for my clients, the more they're like, there's no way I'm ever using another agent. Like, this is my man. He does everything for me. Like, the more you do that, the better. That's always my mission. Ask me your next question. I'm going to change the brightness a little bit because this is bothering me.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. I'm wondering, when you think about YouTube, it's sometimes let's say your videos are being watched 200, 340, 400,000 times, but all you're seeing is you're just speaking into a camera, or you're seeing some comments. And a lot of people, I think there's a disconnect, let's say, between the impact of, your videos or your channel versus what you're kind of feeling on a day-to-day basis. Because once you shut off the camera or turn off your phone, it's kind of gone. So are you able to connect with just the people who are on the other side? Are you able to establish some type of deep rapport beyond just the camera and beyond just the stats?
Yeah. The best way that I've been able to do that is really, it's almost impossible to do that in the comments, right? But when I see people like Christina actually come back day after day to like the investing live streams that I do in the mornings, I can actually see people's stories develop. And that's really cool because that's where when they talk like, hey, you analyzed my deal 3 months ago. This is what happened now. This is what I'm doing next. That's like a really cool way of continuing that connection. But it wasn't just that. It was last year before COVID. I remember my last one was in Las Vegas, February, right before the pandemic. We were like nervous to shake everybody's hands, but we still did. And it's kind of like, oh, is anybody got COVID in here, right? But we didn't really think it was going to be a big deal. It was February 14th of last year. I think nobody really thought it was going to like spread the way it did. It's going to be another bird flu or something like that. But anyway, it's so weird because people will come up and again, it's been a very long time since I've done an in-person event, but people will come up, Kevin, I've been watching your videos, for a year, whatever. I've done this, this, and this. I followed your advice on this, that, and that, and it's working out really well for me. And I think that is like such a really cool way to motivate me to wake up. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are days, and they happen a lot, where I'm like, man, I don't want to do anything today. But to see people circle back and say, thank you, like this has really had an impact on me. I even had somebody, they messaged me, they're like, Kevin, and I thought like me saying this was not valuable at all. Like I said it because I thought maybe there was a tiny chance, but I'm like, nobody's going to care about this. Why am I putting this in this video? And I said, hey, just a reminder, look through your junk mail. The stimulus check might come on a debit card that is disguised as junk mail. Like, here's our government being stupido again. Mm-hmm. And I got messages from people like, oh my God, thank you so much. I've been waiting for this. I needed this. And I found it in my junk mail. It's like, oh my gosh, like it brings tears to my eyes, like that kind of impact it can actually be had.
Uh-huh. I mean, this past year, it seems like you've connected with broader sets of audiences. One is like you've been doing a section of kind of stimulus updates where you've been really on it. And what have you learned through that whole experience of following the whole, political scene, but also your audience's kind of, interest in, the stimulus situation?
Well, one of the things I've learned is daily vlogging real estate renovations does not get views. People. I still have folks on my channel, and I feel sorry about this, but there are a lot of people that are like, Kevin, we want more real estate, and my goal is to do. And it's a goal right now. This whole GameStop thing has really thrown a wrench in that. But my goal is to do at least one real estate video a week. Where I go to properties, I go, here's an update on what's going on. I love doing those, but unfortunately, maximizing impact on YouTube can sometimes mean providing value where people are looking for value. For example, before Nano Dimension went trending as a stock, I would keep hearing this stock. People like, what do you think about Nano? What do you think about this stock? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know anything about it. So I check, a weekend, it was a couple days, maybe 10 hours of just a deep dive into the company, share a video on it, boom, 300,000-400,000 views. I go, hey, here's how to save $20 on changing outlets in your property. This just doesn't go anywhere. It gets 20,000 views, whereas the other thing gets 300,000-400,000 views. It's providing value where people want it, and that's the goal. Now, if I do a really big real estate video, real estate portfolio update or how to invest in real estate starting with $0 or something like that, those videos can do well. But again, you have to appeal to that broad audience.
Mm-hmm. I remember watching, I think it was a talk or a podcast you did with Graham Stephan, and he was kind of suggesting or hinting on kind of the potential for you to get into more financial news. And it seems like in some ways you are starting to morph a bit into, stocks and financial news, and perhaps the stimulus also helped you just kind of get really into it. I mean, sure. What has that transition looked like for you in the past year? Has it kind of the financial news world kind of opened up for you and you've really kind of dived into it? Like, what's the transition been like?
It's actually been one that's been something I always dreamed that could work. I remember 2018 going to the gym, and I was talking to this trainer, and I would maybe work out with them like 2 or 3 times a week, nothing really serious. But I would have a conversation with them, and I would say, I really wish there was a way I could just go live, provide value, and just do that over and over again, sharing my perspective on things. Like I really expressed my frustration with the fact that you have to spend so much time planning a video and so much time then structuring the video and editing the video. I mean, back then I was spending 8 hours editing a video. And realizing that, oh my gosh, I can go live, share my perspectives. Not only is it better for the consumer, the person watching, because they're getting feedback much faster, right? Mm-hmm. Rather than me doing a deep dive on Pinterest, I could go on a live stream and go, hey, folks, I'm paying attention to Pinterest right now. I'm going to pick up some options on this. Here's my thesis on it. I'm going to go deep into it later, but I want to get this out now. That values them. It does no good if I say, hey, you got to pay attention to Pinterest at $69. And then I'll have my fundamental analysis come out in 3 weeks when it's at $100. It does no good. So the speed of information delivery has really, I love it. I hate editing with a passion. In my YouTube course, I teach how to get your edit down and tricks for doing that because I hate editing. I think editing is stupid. It robs the consumer of faster and better value.
Are you gradually shifting to just going live more and more? Because what's the point of recording if you could just go live?
Yeah, so there are two algorithms. There's the live streaming algorithm, and then there's the posting algorithm. I try, if I'm going to go live, I try to go live, post, live, post, live, post. Like that's ideal for me. I think that gives a nice spread on the algorithm. If I go post, I could have problems because post they can cannibalize each other more. So I see that as a potential opportunity.
That's fascinating. Are you ever scared or kind of mental by like the amount of people that not just follow you, but might just copy your every move without thinking on their own? For example, Meet Kevin is doing options on Peloton or something, and I don't need to think about it or research it myself. I'm just going to follow his exact option call. And what goes through your mind with that? Do you just try to caution people and say, make your own decisions, or what's your approach?
I think it's almost, it's probably like one of those 60-30 things or 60-40 things where, look, sometimes that really works out where you just kind of blind faith buy something. I don't like hearing that. I'd rather people say like, oh, that's a good idea. I come to that conclusion myself. But there are times where people just like, I mentioned the AMC calls before it was a GameStop thing. I didn't buy them because I told everyone like, I'm on a stock diet. But I remember saying on a live stream, like, oh man, we pulled up Robinhood and we showed showed it on screen. And we're like, wow, $2 or whatever it was, this looks juicy. Like if I weren't on a stock market diet, I'd buy some of these. And I think even just saying that on a live, it gives people ideas like, oh, yeah, let me look into this a little more. And my hope is that they do a little research. They're like, okay, yeah, Kevin's right. They do have debt that's going to survive them until August. That means they're not going to have to really worry about raising money again until June or July, which means maybe we'll have a run between now and then. The whole GameStop thing just was a total fluke that came in between that. But sometimes I think sharing that idea, at least that's my hope, is that people hear an idea and they're like, oh, okay, yeah, I agree or disagree. If they want to trade off that, hey, that's totally their thing. I think it's definitely a problem, though, if people are like, okay, you said buy Pinterest options. Okay, I'm going to do it without any actual additional thought into it. That's when it becomes a little bit of a problem. But that happens, Look at Motley Fool. Motley Fool sends out go buy lemonade. Like the Motley Fool article pitching lemonade was garbage. And look, I like Motley Fool. But the first article they pushed out about pitching lemonade, I'm like, y'all miss the thesis, like hardcore. You're just like, oh, cool company. I'm like, there's so much more you could have said. It's almost like, it almost felt like they didn't really do a deep dive. They're just like, this is the stock we're picking right now, But hey, they pitched it twice and that stock skyrocketed after each of them. I think there's a lot of blind faith that happens. I think that's a problem. In this case, obviously that worked out with lemonade, but yeah.
Yeah, I saw that. It was under 100 when Motley Fool got involved.
Yes.
Is your kind of interest with trading and, following just what's going on right now in the markets, is what percent is it based off of, this is a great opportunity for me to invest and make money versus, and because there's always also the long term, just, kick back and hold the stock, right? There's that approach. Yep. But what percent of the short-term interest is, I'm trying to make money and learn versus people are interested in this and maybe I could try to help them as well, understand what's going on. Is it more of a service thing for others, or is it something that you're trying to, build your portfolio and kind of investing strategy with as well?
Yeah, that's a great question. Because it's true. There's so many penny stocks that as a YouTuber, imagine 1 million subscribers, 1.2 million. I go, all right, boys and girls, here's a 80-cent penny stock. this is revolutionary. It's going to the moon. You know, it's 100 mil market cap, let's say. It's some company nobody's ever heard of. Dude, that could quadruple in value like that off a video. Totally could happen. I don't do it because I am 100% dedicated on researching things that I actually want to invest in long term. So when I look into Nano Dimension, it's a sincere deep dive on, do I want to put money into this? It's a sincere deep dive into Shift technology. Like this is a company I think is fundamentally undervalued. Lemonade, first company I ever bought off IPO. Pitching them ever since. We're sitting like dummies in the course, holding Lemonade at 50, 55. We're buying it under 60 all because I'm like, that's my buy target. Thing goes down to 49 and we're happening, you know? A little bit of an echo, by the way. I don't know if that's just on my
yeah, you're kind of
it's
stalling a little bit. Let me see. It's like
we'll see that catch us up.
Yeah, we'll wait a second here. If you don't mind, I'll just kind of talk when this. I think the buffering maybe needs to catch up a bit on our video. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think you're back.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, if I'm getting back, then basically 100% looking at these long value companies that I'm investing in, and that's really what's so beautiful is I get to. I feel honored to be able to do this, but I get to analyze companies I love, and then I get to decide, do I want to invest in them or not? And I really do. You know, when I tell people, hey, I just put 50 grand into this option or 50 grand into this option, I do. And I don't sell. You know, sometimes people are like, oh, Kevin, are you just like saying you're putting money into this and then selling out on something else so you can make content? No, it'd be effing boring. It'd be so boring to me. Like, I got my skin in the game on this, and that makes it fun.
Got it. When did you make that like shift to stocks? Like, when was there a progression where you're just like, oh, this is interesting, and then you started to research, and then you're like, I can go for it. I can actually, you know, understand all this stuff and become good at it. When was that? When did that transition happen?
Yeah, you know, it really started before the pandemic. It started with Apple stock was a big play for me for really the last decade. I mean, Apple stock was something where I would take my money in between real estate deals and I would just throw everything into Apple stock. Like, you know, general financial or conventional financial wisdom is got to have a 6-month emergency fund. 6-month emergency fund. I'm like, screw that. My emergency fund is stocks. Look, the thing's not going to go to zero. I would rather put my money into stocks, let it grow. And even if it goes down 50%, like what happened during the pandemic, I will still have more money having my money in stocks than sitting around in a stupid savings account with 6 months reserves or whatever, because I'm going to be much less likely to spend the money when it's in an investment account. When it's sitting there in a savings account, people psychologically screw themselves into, well, we want to go on this vacation. Let's just take the money out of the emergency fund and we'll just reimburse that over the next 6 months. It's bullshit. People are screwing themselves psychologically. You put everything into an investing account, you don't take the money out. Like Lauren and I, it's hilarious. Every time our bank account gets overdrawn or it's like next to zero, there are like no Amazon boxes showing up for the next 2 weeks. I love it. Like and I when I say my accounts get overdrawn, it does happen. I don't pay the fee because I fill it back up the same day because I've got credit lines that I could just pull on and then reimburse. But it's so beautiful because we buy less crap when we have less money sitting around. You know, you got 100 grand sitting in a bank account. It's like, do we want that new computer? Not even going to have an impact on the 100K sitting there, you know? You're not even going to feel it. And spending becomes too easy then.
Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah. So to finish your question, that's kind of what started my love for stocks. Tesla became a love in much later than you. After I bought the car. I bought the car in 17, took delivery in December of 17. Car was a lemon. Car sucked for 2-3 months. Started getting better, and then better and better and better. And I'm like, $250 for the stock? You know, everybody hates it. Dude, this car is a game changer. Plowed everything I had into Tesla stock, well up to the pandemic's crash. I even remember buying the stock at $905 and posting my Tesla thesis on like it was January 2020. And people are like, haha, you're such an idiot. You bought it at 905. It just went down to 780 or whatever. And, you know, short term, it sucked. Sometimes you make a stock pitch that you really believe in. Short term, it sucks. It's a running joke in my course. I tell people, I go, if I buy a stock, it's pretty much guaranteed to go down right afterwards, but I'll be right in the long term.
Got it. It's interesting. Like during or after COVID hit, the stock market crashed. You went ahead and you just did a crazy move. It seemed like at that time where you said, I'm going to refi or refi all my properties, pull out all the cash and dump it into the stock market, which in retrospect, it was like almost perfect timing. Like what happened? What was going through your mind? How did you make that decision?
Yeah. It really came from a place of weakness, even though it seems like it came from a place of strength. When the Fed dropped rates instantly, it was, I don't know, it was like March 6th or something like that, or 3rd, something like that. And they had like an emergency meeting on a Sunday. The first thing I thought is, oh crap, SHIT is about to hit the fan. And I look at my properties as piggy banks. So I thought, okay, let me break those piggy banks so I can be as liquid as possible. I'm not going to sell them going into a crisis. I'm just going to refinance them because I get to take advantage of, like, if real estate prices are going to fall, I would rather refinance them when the real estate prices are high, even if they're going to fall afterwards. I don't care as long as I can make the payment. It doesn't matter if the value goes down 50% after. I'm going to take my money out at the top and have cash, and then I'll just figure it out from there. About 2 to 3 weeks later, while my refinances were going on, I was closing on another acquisition, and it was closing day. And I'm like, all right, I got a $20,000 deposit on this. The market's tanking. The circuit breakers are freaking out on the stock market. Everything's going to crap. Bill Ackman's like, the world is ending. Shut everything down. I remember standing in that property, and of course it was a rainy day too, so everybody's freaking out. You know, it's a gloomy day. Everything feels like it's the apocalypse happening right in front of my face. And I'm in this property like, do I need to just walk away? Like, am I screwed? I'm never going to find a tenant for this. I'm going to be holding the bag on this. Do I need to just walk away from this property and keep my 20 grand? See you later. And it was really in the moment there. I talked to Lauren and we had a discussion and we thought, you know, these are the kind of emotions where we need to control them and be very, very strong and believe in what we believe in. And that's buying real estate that needs to be fixed up and buying stocks with the rest of our money. And so when those refinances cleared, we made the decision. Well, we made the decision that day to buy that property. And that making that decision to buy the property reiterated, no, we're holding through this. We're diamond handing through this, you know, before that was a saying. And so when the refinance money came in, you know, beginning of April, it was beautiful because it was just plow everything in. You know, the timing worked out great, but yeah, it was really that that day that made me realize, no, we are making the decision, because you can't vacillate. If you vacillate, you're like, today I feel like selling, tomorrow I feel like buying, then I feel like selling. You're gonna lose money. The stock market's gonna eat you alive. You go in with conviction. This is my strategy. I'm sticking to it. Good.
Mm-hmm. When you stuck all that, you know, cash out refi money, like how much was it about?
Couple mil,
like into the stock market. Did that heighten your interest as well, like a bit more to the stock market because your assets were in the stock market more?
Oh yeah. I mean, like I made videos on the channel sitting in front of the fireplace and taking money and like throwing it into the fireplace. And I got all these comments about how burning money is illegal, which I didn't know at the time. I guess I learned a lot of things during this pandemic. But that's what it felt like. It really felt like I was taking money and throwing it into a fire. And I felt like an idiot because everybody was leaving me comments like, you're such an idiot, you're such a dumbass, you're catching a falling knife. But the decision we made as a family was, no. We are taking every dollar we have and we're plowing it in, because we're not going to say no here and yes there. It's either we're all in or we're all out. And then that's very much my personality too. It's either I'm in or not. And our decision was we're in. And so I don't care if we're in a fire pit, whatever, we'll get through it.
Mm-hmm. I'm curious, like with that, you know, a few million you stuck in, you know, it's cash out refi money. What was your view on it? Were you pretty loose hands, like, hey, I'll do my best investing it, but if I lose all of it, I mean, obviously you won't try to lose all of it, but if something crazy happened, like, do you feel confident that you could restart, you know, and that just one or, you know, a series of bad mistakes won't completely do you in?
Yeah, I guess the thing about, you know, most of my investing portfolio, like 99%, is the thought of losing everything never crosses my mind. ever. It doesn't come across my mind. It's something where I'm just always thinking to myself, I'm not going to look. I look at my portfolio. I'm not going to lose any money on Etsy. I'm going to make money on Etsy. I'm going to make money on Pinterest. I'm going to make money on Peloton, Tesla. These are positions guaranteed. I know I'm making money in the long term because I'm buying either leaps or I'm buying, the stock outright. I'm not forced to sell with the stock outright. I don't have to pay taxes when I buy the stock outright. I have no fear of losing all my money. And I ask myself, where are we going to be in 20 years? Are these companies going to be gone or still here? I have no qualms. They're here. I'm confident. Maybe that's blind. Maybe I'm being blind to the fact that these companies could go bankrupt. Sure, that's always a possibility, but I never think about it that way. I do think about that sometimes on speculative plays. Like, you throw money onto some new SPAC just because it's like the meme of the day or whatever. That's very risky. I call it 10 out of 10 on the risk scale. And I make that very clear when I talk on my channel. Like, look, you want the majority of your money going into like level 2, 3, 4, 5 risk stocks, what I call scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest risk. The SPACs are like the YOLO gamble, right? Anything can happen. Those stocks, I do look at those and I'm like, I could lose everything on those. But then I look at my portfolio, I'm like, I'm 1% SPAC, or 3% SPAC or whatever it is. Okay, all that money could go away. It's not going to do anything. But the other 97%, I don't even consider that. Like, I never look at my real estate and I'm like, this real estate's going to go to zero. Never even a thought.
Got it. Do you think you borrowed that kind of idea and conviction from real estate? Because real estate just has such a strong, not just past, but the whole essence of real estate is you're holding on to it for possibly generations. You could pass it on. I mean, do you look at companies and long-term investing kind of similar? Like, hey, I own a piece of this company, and I believe it's a great company.
Totally. I think that's a great analogy I haven't even thought of myself. Probably because my rules when I buy real estate are don't buy yeah buts, we call them. Yeah buts are anything that is, questionable or risky. Like, we're not going to buy in areas we have to collect rent with a gun. We're just not going to do it. We're not going to buy out of the area because we're not experts in out of the area. We're not going to buy under a freeway, up to busy roads, under high tension power lines, or properties with funky, crappy additions that have legal issues where we're going to have to, deal with the city, which is a complete disaster nightmare. I look at stocks much the same way. If you think about it, the majority of my portfolio, it's stocks that I think are high quality, low risk. You can buy them blindfolded. And I don't have to stress out over all the details. I don't have to micromanage the stock. I don't have to explain every single day, oh man, why is this down 10% today? Cool, it's on sale. It could be my reaction, that is very much like how I invest in real estate.
Yeah. Do you think your real estate experience with, let's say, analyzing income and expenses and cash flow and all of that stuff, also appreciation, maybe the neighborhoods, kind of seeing hundreds of factors, right, going into each house decision, did that help you at all transition to analyzing stocks to say, okay, what are the most important things that make this valuable or not? And did that kind of give you a leg up, you think, when you went into stock analyzing?
Yeah, maybe a couple things. I can't say 100%. A couple things that do carry over are understanding comps. Comps in real estate, other properties. A lot of people who get started in real estate are clueless about how to comp out a property. And the big thing is trying to adjust for differences between companies. It's really difficult to comp certain companies. Real estate is easier in that sense. I go buy a tract home. It's a slam dunk. So really, you have to comp stocks, in my opinion, the way I like to do it. I don't use discounted cash flow too much sometimes, but usually I invest in stocks the same way I invest in real estate. And that's that I'm not looking for high cash flow. I'm not looking for high dividends. I'm looking for high growth. Where can I buy something that I think is underappreciated in the market? Whether that's, Etsy at $70. Maybe this is underappreciated. Maybe that's Pinterest now, under $69 or it's at 84 today or whatever. Where are those underappreciated properties? Kind of like what we see in real estate. And where can I invest? Not necessarily for high cash flow. I'm not investing in dividends. I'm not investing in REITs. Where can I invest to build my wealth as soon as possible? Real estate has an edge here. Real estate, I can go in and buy a house in a $600,000 neighborhood for $400,000, and I know it's undervalued. I put 50 grand in. I know I'm up 150 grand on that. That's a beauty about real estate is I can guarantee that. I can't do that in stocks because I'm relying on the market seeing what I'm seeing eventually. Whereas at the very moment I buy a deal under market value, I know I got a deal on real estate. But the downside with real estate is once you get to a certain net worth, certainly over $1 million, probably once you get to like a $3, $4, $5 million net worth, real estate becomes a little less desirable because it's so time intensive relative to the money that you make. But if you get a net worth of 100K, 200K, 500K, or less than that, real estate's an amazing way to build your net worth really fast.
Yeah, I mean, I noticed that like there's so many opportunities with real estate that if you hustle and find some under market deals, do some work, you get that immediate value and it's not going away. It's just right there. The market is right in front of you. Like I had this one opportunity last week to pick up an underpriced full cash deal, but it's just too small. Like it just, in a sense of at a certain net asset value of your investment pile, it's like, okay, I have to pass up on these opportunities, but they're there, for those who hustle. I mean, do you struggle with that with real estate at all? Where as you seeing your net worth go up or your income go up, you're like, hey, I don't know if I could do this deal anymore because it just doesn't make sense with my time.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And there's also a frustration that once you get to a certain number of properties, you can't get conventional financing anymore. So, I'm in escrow on a property right now. I got to pay like 5.5% interest on the darn 30-year fixed rate loan, and it sucks. And that's because I'm getting commercial financing on single families, and that's just the way the marketplace is for once you're over, out here 20 properties, and it sucks. But yeah, and then I go, okay, cool. I bought this property under market value. What'd that do my net worth? Well, let's see. I put 200 grand in, after the loan, and my net worth went up maybe 75K. Okay, great. But what time did that take, right? How long did it take me to renovate it? Well, usually since we're using the same formula, it's not too terrible, but it's definitely something I look at and I'm like, man, if I took some of that money and just threw it into Tesla, I wouldn't have to do anything. I just swipe up, and so there is that frustration. Again, real estate, phenomenal way to build your wealth. There's so many people that are like, Kevin, I got 10 grand. How do I build my wealth fast? It's not stocks, it's real estate. Because you put 10 grand into stocks, for you to actually make outsized gains, you're going to have to play the YOLO option game. And you're either going to get really lucky or you're going to get burned and lose everything and you're going to be jaded. And even if you win 1, 2, 3 times, all it takes is losing that fourth time. And then you lose your 50, 60, $100,000 portfolio. So you gotta be careful. Real estate is different to the sense that, I could put $10,000 into a property as a 3.5% down buyer, buy something that has a $100,000 upside the day I close it. And there we go. I've turned 10K into 100K net worth. That's safe. That's great. Like that's what I would be doing starting out all day long. And then in the future, once I've got, 3, 4 properties and I built my net worth's going over $1 million or whatever it is, then I would throw more money into stocks.
Okay, so I want to unpack this because this I think is great advice. I think it's something that I think people overlook. They think I can never get into buy a house. I can never get into real estate. Let's say they're struggling with their bills. So what's a strategy? Let's say someone says, okay, you're motivating me here. I kind of see some potential here. Maybe I got to get out of debt some. I've got to boost my income some. But what is that first step to get into real estate? What would you say to them?
Yeah, I think people see buying real estate as having so many more barriers, and it really doesn't. It doesn't have that many barriers. You could buy a house with like a 620 credit score. You got to have income, obviously. You got to have a job. So it's like what Elon Musk says, like if you don't have a job, get a job. So get a job, have some income. People get frustrated over, well, I don't want to do the 9 to 5. I want to do my own thing. But then they flounder for years and they don't get anything done. It's almost better to just join, get a job, learn programming, whatever your skill set is. In my opinion, people are either sales or they're programming. You usually pick a side. They're pretty different. One doesn't generally do the other. So pick a side that you're on. Go make some money, and rebrand the work you're doing as not work for work. Like people are like, man, 9 to 5, golden handcuffs, working for the man. No. You're looking at it the wrong way. Get the job and go, wow, because I now have a W-2 or whatever income, I can qualify for real estate. I can buy a place with 3% down and live there. Then I can buy another place for 3.5% down or 3% down and do it again. And I think people put up more roadblocks than they need to. They hear this financial wisdom that, oh, but Kevin, you need to put 20% down. Oh, you need a 740 credit score to get the best rate. Oh, but you need, you need to have been working for 2+ years. A lot of this stuff is bullcrap. Pay the mortgage insurance. It's not that big of a deal. It's a drop in the bucket compared to the money you could be making. Get in with a 620 credit score. Who cares if your rate's a little higher? Get a good deal and you offset that. You make up more than that, way substantially. Get rid of mortgage insurance faster when you buy a good deal. What's the other one? The income branding thing. Use the fact that you can bank hack with a job. Buy a place, keep it as a rental, qualify that income, go buy another one. So many opportunities I think people are blinded to because of this, financial guru advice we hear about 20% down, debt is bad, get a 15-year mortgage, which makes it even more hard for you to qualify. And a lot of people don't realize you could get a loan with 1 year plus year-to-date income. They're like, oh, well, I have to have this job for 2 years. Not really. So you get a job out of college, you could get a loan right away. You go to school for computer programming. You day one start your job at Microsoft or Motorola or whatever. Boom, you can qualify for a loan right there. You just got to pick up the phone and call a lender and try.
Yeah. What do you say to people who are like, oh, I'm scared. I've seen so many articles and videos of foreclosures coming on the market. The market's going to crash. I'm just scared. Like, and they just postpone it and they keep on postponing the purchase.
I went through a lot of fear in my first property. Asbestos, this. Like I would get calls from vendors doing bids. They're like, all right, Kevin, we got a bid for you, but we got really bad news. There's asbestos. And I'm like, oh God, what does that mean? This is horrible. I bought a lemon. And now I look at it. I look at my past 19-year-old self and I'm like, is that the worst? Is that there's asbestos? I don't care anymore because I've gone through and I realized it's just not that big of a deal. So give me the mold, give me the lead, give me the asbestos. I'll deal with all of it. And obviously that comes from experience. But what got me through when I was 19, what got me through that emotion was, okay, so what's the worst that's going to happen? They're going to foreclose on us? And do I go to jail? No. Do I get to keep a job? Yeah. Okay, let's go. There's no debtor's prison in America. I'm not expecting that because the place we were buying for $305K when we started was in a $450,000 neighborhood. So I'm like, things would have to go so bad. But I also looked at it. I go, okay, what's really the worst case scenario? Instead of working 40 hours a week, I get a second job and I manage to make my payment. There's so many buffers we could build in that a lot of fears are just a complete joke. Who cares if the market crashes? You got a 30-year fixed rate loan. The bank can't call you up and go, yo, the market crashed. We need some money, so we're just gonna have to foreclose on your house. You can't do that. No, not worried about it at all.
Yeah, and a couple things there I noticed is that it's this 30-year, let's say, fixed rate at perhaps even under 3%. That right now it might seem kind of as long as it's a mortgage payment you can afford comfortably. But if you lock in that mortgage rate in 5 or 10 years, it's going to look extremely cheap, because rent isn't going to go down probably, in coming years. So you have this extra freedom, extra financial kind of, cushion that you're gaining. And then you also have the safety margin where, you're not going to go to jail, right? They're just your house is your collateral. So they can take the house, they can ding your credit, but it's not like the end of the world. So it seems like an amazing kind of opportunity for wealth generation if you could view it in the correct kind of manner.
Another thing, and it's so right on what you're saying. Another thing that I always told, anytime I would talk about real estate, whether it was certainly before the pandemic, doing my live events that I used to do in the course, on the channel, it doesn't matter. Wherever I would talk about real estate, one of the things I would always say is, what do you think's going to happen if there's a massive mortgage crisis? Do you think the United States government's going to come in with their knight in shining armor and make it so that you're not going to lose your house? Yeah, probably. Even with debt forgiveness that we saw on short sales in the 2008 crisis. Yeah, a lot of people lost their pants, but there were so many foreclosure mitigation options that came out of that recession. People were getting loan modifications after 2 years of making no payments. The banks are like, can we just get you making payments again, please? The government's incentivizing us to keep you in your house. What can we do to work with you? And the banks were not only modifying people's loans, but they're like, hey, if you do a short sale, we'll pay you $25,000 to do a short sale rather than going to foreclosure. There was so much money flowing into foreclosure mitigation. And I always believed that the government would come bail us out again, essentially. I'm not saying you want to rely on the government to bail you out when there was a future panic, but it was so fascinating to see as soon as the pandemic came, the first thing the government does is say, yeah, people who owe money to banks, 12 months, no payments. And I'm like, bingo. That's what we expected was going to happen. Is some kind of, I mean, that's even more extreme support. But compare that to what renters got. Renters didn't get that. Renters got, okay, you can't get evicted, but you still owe the money. Homeowners got, you don't have to make your payments for 12 months. We can add that to the back of your loan, which is basically free money if you invested some of that money in the meantime. The support for homeowners and businesses is always outsized. And those are some really good opportunities to always hang your hat on that. The government wants to support small business. It wants to support, homeownership. So go take some risks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was talking to a real estate investing timing expert. I don't know if you've heard of Bruce Norris.
Timing expert.
Yeah. But Bruce Norris has been kind of this California real estate timing expert for 30 years. But I asked him like what he thought about the wealth inequality gap, and does this kind of rising real estate prices kind of increase kind of the have and have nots, right? Because if you don't have a house, own a house, and you might feel like you'll never own a house. He came up with this interesting idea. He said he's had this idea if the government would institute a no down payment program, and he thinks that would just open up the floodgates for home ownership, and there could be some more foreclosures, but he thinks it still can be manageable. What do you think about that? Would a no down payment program by the government, do you think, help at all to get people into houses? And would that help with wealth inequality?
I mean, I like to say yes. I like the idea of that. I support the idea of that. But if people can't come up with 3%, there's a problem, right? 3% is already so low of a bar to get in for real estate. You can get a 3% down conventional loan, 3.5% down FHA, 0% VA already exists. Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with it. I think it's not a bad idea. Mm-hmm. I don't think it really makes a difference if you're putting 3% down or 0% down. I think the big thing is qualifying ability. Do you have a stable job? Do you have the ability to repay this loan over time? A lot of people counter real estate and they say, oh, but look at all the interest you're paying over 30 years. Generally, when we hear that, we're seeing or hearing from folks who aren't considering the time value of money, how cheap the interest is and what you could be doing with that money instead, and the wealth you're building by having this leveraged appreciation factor over the long term. Because real estate's not always going to go straight up. But yeah, I'd be okay with 0% down. It's how much of a difference it'll make would be interesting. But then again, I think the biggest thing that they should be doing is educating people more that, hey, we got 3% down available. Because they already have down payment assistance available as well. If you're moderate income, you could go to a local community development corporation and you can get down payment assistance. So you're putting 3% down, but technically maybe you're only putting down $500, which is like 0.5% or whatever it ends up being. So many programs already exist. It's just so many people don't know about them. And we let that fear of the anchor of real estate prevent us from even getting educated.
Yeah. Are you surprised at all with the balance in real estate in just markets, popular markets across the country?
Yeah, I really expected real estate prices to come down in this pandemic. Certainly in multifamily housing, I expected real estate prices to come down. What we did, though, at the most crucial time, and this is the most important time to do it, is in March and April, I did weekly real estate statistic updates. And there were like 5 or 6 agents from my agents course. They would send me data. So we had data coming in from like the middle of the United States, from Florida, from different parts of California, sometimes from New York. And we were able to piece together data from other parts of the country. And what was so cool is usually when you wait for like the National Association of Realtors to update housing data, you're 6 weeks behind. Like it's a horrible lag time. Redfin, lag time as well. Like so many lag times. But when we did this weekly update to see the inflections or look for inflection points in the data, we were actually seeing sales volume increase, inventory decrease, and prices go up consistently in all of these different areas we were tracking in April. And so in April, I'm like, I need to start buying real estate because this is inflecting up, not down. I got so much hate. so much hate. I mean, you could go back to the videos now and people are like, this guy's an idiot. You gotta wait. Like the foreclosure crisis is coming, and the same people are still saying the same stuff now. Yeah, I mean, what I ended up doing was I went from I had 3 purchases already in 2021, January, February, and March. I closed real estate deals. I went from, okay, I'm going to pause on real estate. I'm going to focus on stocks in March and April to May going, this thing's not going down. Let's go buy before the prices go up. And I ended up buying 11 properties in 2020, which hopefully when we do our taxes here this year, will end up being some nice write-off opportunities.
I mean, how are you finding time are you having your wife go check it out, agents go check it out, or do you have time actually to go and, look at houses? What's going on here?
Yeah, it's the cool thing is, having done it so much, I don't need to spend a lot of time. Yeah, sometimes it's almost like a nice break to get out. But if a property hits the market, or the last property I got an escrow on, the agent texted me. They got like, hey, we got a deal coming up. It's $570,000. It's in this neighborhood. I do a quick yeah, but check to see where its location is. I'm like, no, everything checks out on this. Go there, find out the permit history on the property, which is easy. I can Google that. Probably spend 30 minutes and I make a decision like, hey, do I want to buy this or not? My dad's moving out here, so I'm buying that house for him to live in, which will be exciting because he'll be really close again. So that means one of the places I bought was for my mom, one's for him. So now I'll have my family really close, which is really exciting. Lauren has her parents here. I'll have my parents here. But yeah, I mean, even from just a deal perspective, no, I drove over there, 5-minute walkthrough. I go, okay, I get it. They got blown insulation, but they got asbestos ducts. I got to get rid of those. I got a roof leak over here I got to solve. Budget it out. Works for me. I'm game. Let's go. Here's my offer.
Got it. Do you have help in terms of managing the renovations and that whole process after you purchase something?
Well, I don't have any employees at this point. Lauren helps manage the properties, which is great. My mom helps Lauren with the kids, and then she can manage properties, which is great. That helps a lot. I lately have been, I mean, renovations generally are pretty on autopilot with the people I use because I do the same thing every time. So like, I don't have to be involved in so many decisions because the people that work, that come work, I don't want to say work for us because they're just 1099 contractors, but that do these jobs, they already know like, okay, this is going to be Kevin's answer on this, just because we've done so many of them. So that helps. I should probably check in more than I do, but that's really helpful.
Yeah.
And then lately I have been falling behind a lot on like emails. I'm like, oh my God, I can't keep up with, like, I don't answer DMs. I don't answer tweet messages. And I should. I really should be. I don't answer Facebook messages. I should be. I barely have time to answer my email right now, and I should be. Yeah. So there might come a time where I decide, it's time to hire somebody to help me with some of that. But yeah, now that's my setup.
Have you thought about expanding outside of single family or residential real estate, like single family real estate, into something like apartment buildings or something that might be, I don't know, because with single family, they're all spread out, right? Different tenants, et cetera. You have to, rely on management with all these different properties, different situations. Is that going to be scalable for you think? Or are you happy with single families for a certain reason?
Yeah, I've thought about just taking a ton of money and dumping it into some 50-unit apartment building. Problem is, it goes against my, like, I can't, because I know I'm paying over market value for the thing. Like, maybe that'll change at some point, but it's tough. These larger buildings, unless you have like an off-market opportunity, because some seller that's just tired of tenants and toilets, and you have a relationship with them, and they have a big portfolio, and you're just able to shop off their portfolio. Hey, that's great. You hit the lottery there. But that's very difficult to do unless you have those connections. Single family real estate, you don't have as much of that sophisticated investor competition driving up prices. You've got 90% of people buying single family homes are your classic retail home buyer that's just like, honey, we can move right in. This is why flips sell, which flips are the worst thing to buy. I like to be that person who's outbidding the flippers. And then I'm only competing with flippers, which I can always pay more than them because I'm going to rent out the property. And it's become so autopilot. I might expand where I do it, because I think concentrating it all in California is not, I mean, this isn't just a bag on California, even though California's got its problems, but concentrating it all into an earthquake zone could end up being really expensive for me one day.
Hmm.
So I do have a temptation to expand, maybe, whether that's Florida or Texas, but then I got to deal with hurricanes, or I got to deal with moisture intrusion and foundation issues. Texas got foundation issues. Florida's got the hurricanes. Everywhere you go, you got problems. So yeah, it's tough.
Hmm. Yeah. I want to ask you kind of, where do you see yourself in 10 years? This is one of my viewers' questions they've asked is, yeah, I mean, do you have some type of aspirations and like looking, let's say, yeah, the 10-year kind of picture, what comes to your mind?
It has to continue to be some kind of like, well, I have this like dream that in 10 years I'll be living on the coast of France, and I'll never be on YouTube and I'll never be working, and I'll just literally be sitting on a boat, or a beach and hanging out with my kids or whatever. I don't think that's going to happen though. I think I'm going to be on YouTube for a very, very long time. I think I would love to create some kind of scalable businesses with my kids. So to me, I have this challenge of, okay, before my kids are 18, can I create something that they can work with? Maybe that is more like expanding that single family portfolio. Maybe that is doing stocks together, or it's something else. I don't know, but it's probably going to be something. If there's anything that ties it together, it would have to be something I could work with my family on. My dream is if I could have 6 kids, and I get at least 3 of them working in the family business. That's my life's goal right there.
Huh, fascinating. I heard your wife, Lauren, comment on, I think it was on some video that she and you guys were thinking perhaps of living overseas in different countries with your kids. How serious of a kind of idea is that?
I would say it's pretty serious. That would happen in the future, but the kids would have to be grown by then. So we'll have to, I mean, that's probably at least 25, 30 years away, which is kind of weird to say because that's a long time. But yeah, no, that's realistically, it'll be, vacationing to places, but actually making a permanent move like that, that's probably more end game.
Yeah, got it. So one of the things I'm fascinated by with your channel and videos is, like, I think 2 things. One is your ability to kind of, the confidence you have to learn something that's new. Where does that come from? Like, it might be a completely new topic, but it feels like you have this, I will figure out something, to make sense of it. So what's going on there?
Yeah, I don't know. I think that almost came from my childhood, because I would see my dad and my uncle. They have this. My uncle is especially extreme on this. My uncle has this belief that nothing can be broken. Nothing is unsolvable. So, for example, one of his sons, they work in the movie theater business together, which is a problem right now. But they have like these high-techy movie theaters where you could sit there and you have like a screen in front or like a monitor in front, and you could order, your food and your reorder from there. They've had that system since like the late 80s. Like super, like he would print his own circuit boards to do this stuff, to be like, way ahead of the curve. It was really amazing how long they've had this technology, and how we don't really see that in the United States. Obviously, pandemic has screwed some things up, but he has always had this belief that I can figure out how to solve a problem. So his son will say something like, this is broken, it's not working. He's like, I'll get it to work. And he would literally, his phrase to me always was, Kevin, if you have a problem, the way you solve it is you go back into the kitchen, you turn on the pot of coffee again, and you figure it out. And he'll stay up all night figuring out problems. And I think that almost has really become ingrained in me, that there is a way to solve problems. And it started as early as me being 7 years old. I used to be on the phone as Mrs. Paffrath because I had a little young squeaky girl voice, is what people said, at least. And so I would call as if I was an adult woman, asking tech support problems, solving problems, because they needed to be solved. And my dad was at work, and my mom's like, I don't know how this works. I'm like, fine, I'll call tech support and I'll do it. So yeah, I have fond memories of solving problems, and I always find that any problem I've ever had, I've been able to solve. So there's no reason I shouldn't be able to solve future problems.
What was school like for you? I mean, did the school environment, that help you, or were you in tension with kind of this
Mm.
kind of authoritarian, compliance focused environment?
Oh gosh, yeah. I I don't listen to people. That's a big problem that I have. Is I get in trouble a lot, or I used to get in trouble a lot, not so much anymore today. But I used to get in trouble a lot because I don't listen. If people say no, you can't do something, that's almost like sign me up for doing it, right? It's that definitely carried through school, and I got in trouble a lot in school for that. So definitely when I wanted to play video games, video games is probably a productivity. A net productivity decline with video games, but I think video games also gave me this sort of sense of grinding. And so in some weird way, it's almost like breaking the rules, but grinding in video games, whether that's RuneScape or Counter-Strike or whatever it was, back when I played more regularly. I still play a little bit today. Maybe those things merged, right? It's like, I can solve any problem, no problem. If somebody else can do it, I can do it. Like, I always look at other people who are better than me at video games, and I'm like, I could do that too. If they could do it, I could do it. But that definitely did lead to some rule breaking at school. So my respect for school was never extremely high.
Yeah. Yeah, I noticed you're playing some video games during the Elon Musk Clubhouse video live stream you did. I'm like telling my wife, how does this guy find time to play video games? He's doing like 5 YouTube videos a day.
Yeah. Video games will always have a place in my life. I look forward to being able to play video games more regularly with my kids too. And I might even stream video games more. I mean, that was the first time I played a video game on YouTube Live here in years. I did it in my garage. My setup's crap. I got to fix a bunch of things, all problems I'm going to solve. But no, it's just fun, because the cool thing about video games is even if you suck, you can have fun. And it's been so long that I've really been like what I would consider myself more of a pro level player, which I feel like I used to be. A lot of that is atrophied now, so I don't have time to get to those levels again. But they're still fun, and I enjoy that.
Yeah, that's amazing. You've shared a story where you were maybe 6 years old or 7 years old, and you were in the back seat or something. Your dad was going through an ATM and took out $20 or something, and you were saying, "Can I have that?" And your dad's like, "What are you talking about? We only have 11 more of these or something." And you've remarked that left an impression, a deep impression. Can you share kind of that experience and kind of maybe how that might have shaped or influenced you?
Yeah, that's pretty deep. It is pretty bad, because we ended up losing that house that we were in. My dad had to sell it. He fed the kitty, so he sold it for less than he paid for it. It was almost going to be a short sale or foreclosure at that time. This was probably in like 1999 to 2001 was a really crappy time. And I'll never forget as a kid feeling horrible, but not only feeling horrible, but feeling helpless. Like, I had this feeling of, I really want this house. Like, this house is cool. It's got a pool. It's got a yard. It's got my friends. But Dad's saying we can't have it. And remember, like, when I hear I can't, I get pissed. But as a kid, I couldn't do anything about it. And so I was along for the ride for years, and especially through my parents getting divorced, with this miserable experience of, I want, but I can't. And as a child, that's probably the most miserable thing. And this is why today, when I hear that children are hungry, like, I get so devastated that our country can't solve childhood hunger. They can't do anything about it. It's not like the kid's lazy. They can't. And I'm not saying people who are hungry are lazy, right? But the point is, like, there's literally nothing a child can do. And feeling that experience for years, and going from, okay, we lost that house, we're going to the next one. Oh no, got to downsize from that house. Oh no, got kicked out of that place. Oh great, we're supposed to drive to school and the car just got repossessed. That's a pretty shitty experience, and that lasted for about 3 years. And yeah, that had some those were some pretty scarring times when it comes to money. Yeah.
How did you make sense of all that? Like, what were your conclusions? Was it kind of like, this is out of control and I can't do anything as a kid, but I'm going to find a way to control it in my own life in the future? Or like, how did you kind of make sense of all that and proceed?
I can't say I had any idea. I felt clueless, totally clueless. I'm 7, 8, 9 years old. I just felt helpless. I I would cry myself to sleep over the things that are happening. And it's just, I think it's more when I had the ability to make a change, which probably started around when I was 16 years old, when I moved to California with Lauren, 16, 17. That's probably when I felt a little bit more in control. Then I knew it was up to me. That, if I was going to, I was, around the time I was 15, 16 years old, I always told myself, I don't care what it takes. I could literally not go to college. I will go work at Walmart and bag groceries. I will be the best grocery bagger that exists. I will show up early and I will stay late. I will go above and beyond my duties. I'll become the CEO of Walmart was always my vision. And people would hear that and they roll their eyes like, yeah, right, CEO, bagger to CEO or whatever. Yeah. I believed it. And so I think it was really just I had to counter what I went through younger.
Yeah. Like, where does that bagger to CEO, like I see that, continuously, that attitude in your story, like for example, with real estate, you'll just go into it very young. How old were you when you got into real estate?
19.
Like you had this attitude, it seemed like where, hey, I'll go from the bottom and I will be the best ever, Yeah. Like, what's going on? And it seems to apply to perhaps YouTube as well and other things. This whole thing, this belief of I will start at the very bottom, be discounted and shrugged aside, but I don't care, I'm going to prove everyone wrong and, they'll see. What's going on there?
Yeah, I think anytime I do something, I want to be able to get to the best position that I can in whatever it is I'm doing. Why? I don't really know why. I think if I'm going to do something, why is somebody else able to do it better? That means I'm doing something wrong and I don't want to be doing something wrong. I think maybe that's kind of where that comes from. Like, oh, why are they doing better? What are they doing differently? Yeah. And I mean, there are obviously different niches on YouTube and things like that. But for example, look at real estate. Okay, why did so-and-so get the listing instead of me? Because, I mean, I've lost listings. That's totally normal as a real estate agent. Okay, so let's analyze. What did I do wrong? What can I do better the next time? And sometimes getting that feedback is hard. But it teaches you how to do it better the next time. And then that would help me build my confidence to go, okay, we're going to implement some of these strategies. And just constant trial and error to where, what can I do to get my closing ratio way up? Because if I'm losing, I'm obviously doing something wrong. And I don't want to lose, so I should fix that. I can't do the same thing every day expecting different results, as they say, right? If you want to do better, then fix what you're doing wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, interesting. So do you think with your YouTube channel, do you have a vision to kind of reinvent financial media or, just how people intake information? Does that come in play at all in your mind, or are you just kind of more in the moment, just kind of, doing what you think you need to do right now?
Yeah, I feel like it's hard to look forward because it's so unknown until it happens. I constantly just look for the opportunities, and then if I see something, I'm like, yeah, let's go in that direction. Let's put money in that direction, or let's invest in this idea that I have, whatever. It's so hard to know which of those is going to work. But I think it's almost that thing people say, and sometimes it's like the cliche, the iron's in the fire, right? Let's put another one in. Let's put another one in. Some of them are going to crumble. Some of them are going to come out beautiful or beautifully, whatever. And so just constantly trying. And then it's kind of like, I mean, so that's how artificial intelligence learns, right? Artificial intelligence says this stop sign is an apple. No, it's a stop sign. Ah, okay. This stop sign is an orange. No. Stop sign. Ah, okay. This is a stop sign. Yes. Ah, let's do more of that. That's the way I look at it. Just trial by error. Throw me in.
Got it. And you combine that with your whole idea that any mistake or most mistakes can be fixed, right? Like, yeah. I mean, what is your...
People are so fearful. They're like, I'm not going to post to YouTube. Like, there are people who talk to me. They're like, Kevin, I've got 5 YouTube videos ready and edited and ready to post. I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Post the first one. Like, post it. Like, what's the worst that's going to happen? Somebody's going to dislike it? Like, then unlist it, okay? Like, there are videos that I post, and, maybe, I don't know, 1 in 50 videos I post, people are like, oh, no, you missed the mark on this one, Kevin. Okay, delete, refilm, re-upload. Oh, it's good now. Cool. Now I learned for the next one. I'm not going to sit there and worry about what people think. Tell me what you think, and then I'll fix it.
Yeah, I mean that's a great attitude. I think kind of not fearing making mistakes. Just hey, we're all gonna make mistakes. We can fix them along the way. So with your YouTube channel, have you ever been tempted to hire people, like for example, an editor or a producer or a researcher or something? It's someone to help with time. I noticed you've kind of had this focus or this ability to do this one-man show. I mean, do you have anyone?
Yeah.
Like, it seems like you're the guy, right? You're making all the videos, you're doing all the research. Like, it's just Kevin, right?
It is just Kevin, and I have no motivation to hire an editor. Haven't really thought much about the other things. That sounds a little more interesting. Maybe but the problem is, like, I feel like if I hired a researcher or something, like, they'd have to be researching what I want, and am I going to look at that research and go, come on, dude, you took 4 hours to do that. I could have done that in 20 minutes. What the hell? Like, I think my demands would be very, very high, which is problematic. When I research a video, if I get it wrong, then I got it wrong. But if I get it right, I got it right. Yeah, I don't know. I probably at some point I would have to do something like that. Why does Jim Cramer have an answer for every single stock when people call in? Because he's got like 10, 20 people working on researching all this crap for him. Okay, what are the meme stocks of the day? What are we going to talk about today? Which SPAC are we going to pump today, right? He's got a whole crew doing that. So yeah, I think there is certainly a limit. Maybe. But right now it's just me.
Yeah, I hear you. If you could break down some of the theses that you hold for certain stocks. So let me toss out a few. So maybe in 30 seconds or so, just what's the core bull thesis, for example, for a company like Lemonade Insurance?
Oh gosh, yeah. It's so with Lemonade, what you're doing is you're investing into the millennial generation, really, which has very little wealth right now relative to the older generations. But as older generations need more support from younger generations are going to go, "What the hell are you doing talking to an insurance broker, bro? Right here, click, 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 done." Like the long run growth of Lemonade, it's going to be very slow. The next 10 years, I think Lemonade. Yeah, we're going to see the stock go up. It's gone up, fine, whatever. Slow. It's going to be slow. They're only in 23 states right now. It's going to 10 plus years from now, you're going to want to have been in Lemonade because it's going to explode. I think that's the new way to do insurance. The AI they use for analyzing risk is brilliant.
Peloton. What's your
Peloton
kind of thesis?
has staying power. There's a short-term bump that they're going to run into with day traders or swing traders getting out as COVID goes away. So there's going to be some short-term weakness at Peloton. Long-term, connected fitness, great. Commission-free bike products online, great. Getting the gym at home, great, especially as more people move to the suburbs and we do more virtual work, which podcast sets might in the future all go virtual. Why not have gym equipment at your home? And there's also an opportunity with their acquisition of Procore to have connected fitness in gyms for people who don't have as much space. And you really see this advancing of fitness products. Is there going to be competition? Yeah. Peloton's going to be one or two.
Mm-hmm. How about Etsy? I know you've mentioned them a few times.
Yeah, Etsy, so brilliant, totally undervalued, tiny market cap relative to the potential they have. Brilliant business model of advertising their platform while using their customers, well, not their customers, their sellers' products to where they can basically subsidize Etsy's marketing costs by shifting some of that burden onto the people using their platform, the sellers. But the sellers are benefiting because their products are getting pitched. So it's almost like they're getting no risk exposure. So it marries people to the platform as sellers. It marries Etsy to higher margin. But it's also a great customer experience for people to get introduced to Etsy through products that they need, which is why they're clicking on them in the first place. And then now, instead of looking at Amazon for their daily staples, which generally you're going to get your daily staples, I feel like, on Amazon. But if you want something unique, Etsy's going to be top of mind. That's 100% top of mind place to go.
Cool. How about Pinterest? I think you've mentioned them a few times as well.
Pinterest is like my second favorite to Etsy. Pinterest really because it directs so much attention to Etsy, and it really lets you fall into the consumer dilemma of shopping without knowing what you're shopping for. See, with Etsy, you almost have to be coordinated on what you're looking for. I'm looking for jewelry, and that's not to say they don't have a homepage, but obviously you go in there looking for jewelry. Oh, cool! Look at all this jewelry or whatever. Oh, cool! I want a Mario star. Sweet, I get it off Etsy. My 3D printed Mario star. I'm not gonna like. If I was wandering through a mall, I would buy that. But now my mall is on my phone. The cool thing about Pinterest is it really gives you like a TikTok style of just mindlessly scrolling and, oh, that looks cool. And you separate yourself from your wallet more, which anything that can separate people from their wallet is something I want to invest in.
Got it. Tesla, what's your kind of bull thesis? It's your biggest position, right? I think.
Oh gosh,
far,
yeah,
right?
biggest position by far, 51% of my portfolio. Tesla has such massive staying power for obviously the electric vehicle revolution. What I think people discount is autonomy. Autonomy is so heavily discounted. Me being able to drive the way I do on the highway with my laptop stand and the things that I do in my car, which we won't talk about here, it's absolutely has convinced me since 2018 to just throw 50% of my money at this company. It's in autonomy. I don't want to hear, oh yeah, you're an electric vehicle spec. If you don't have an autonomous game plan, you're worthless to me. It's not an EV. Sure, climate is nice, but it's in autonomy. Now, when it comes to climate, Tesla also wins in the fact that nobody realizes how valuable their solar retrofit leasing platform is, where you can lease a solar panel system for $60 a month and put no money down, cancel at any time. In the real estate industry, we would tell people don't lease panels because you're in a 20-year power purchase agreement or lease, and we would have problems selling houses because of that. Tesla's just like, oh, okay, well, you want to cancel, we'll cancel. The industry hasn't even begun to realize how powerful that is going to be. Forget the solar roof. Solar roof is going to be nice in the rich neighborhoods. This retrofit program is the everyday man and woman's solar product. Everybody's going to have this in the future.
Okay, one last one. NEO. Why did you invest in NEO over XPeng?
Well, I have a little bit in XPeng as
you
well.
do? Okay.
Yeah, NEO is almost a little bit more of a. I want to see the battery as a service expand. I think it's brilliant that you can reach a culture that doesn't want to stand in line at a supercharger, maybe doesn't have home charging capabilities, and that you have these upgradable batteries. I think the battery swapping is, I know Elon considers it a crutch, but there's a consumer audience out there that really finds that fascinating and will pay money for that. So that's the biggest play that I think NEO has. If they didn't have the battery swapping, I'd be less interested in them. And that's probably why I'm less interested in XPeng.
Mm-hmm. Do you think Apple Car is a threat to Tesla at all?
Not for the next 4 to 5 years. The last time I researched the Apple Car just a couple of weeks ago, they are miscellaneously hiring developers. They got one guy working on what the speaker system's going to look like, and one guy talking about what the lights are going to look like for the instrument panel. That's great, Apple. Where are your autonomous miles on road? That's what I'm looking at.
Got it. I want to ask you about GameStop stock and Reddit, Wall Street Bets. Everything what's happening. So how are you in taking all this stuff from like this bigger picture kind of view? What's going on? Is something really shifting, or, how can we make sense of everything?
I think this shift of the retail investor has always been here. I think just the power of a united retail investor has never been seen before until GameStop. But the biggest problem that Wall Street Bets is going to have is coordination. I think it's going to be like chickens with the heads cut off for the next 3 months. People are going to be, okay, tonight at 9 o'clock, we're doing Dogecoin. Tomorrow it's going to be AMC. Tomorrow it's going to be Carnival Cruise Lines. I don't know. But this lack of direction is going to be a disaster. And that's always going to be a disaster. And I think that's always going to weaken the retail investor, which is unfortunate, but it's true. For the retail investor to have power, they have to be in a fund. That maybe is driven by somebody who's leading the retail investor. But as soon as you're in a fund with billions of dollars under management, you're the dude that you were rallying against before. The benefit of a fund is you get to make unilateral decisions. Bill Ackman gets to make decisions, maybe in talks with his board, but ultimately a lot of his decisions are his decisions. And that gives you a lot of power and might that the retail investor doesn't have. The retail investor doesn't have that coordination. Sure, you can make a YouTube video and pump a penny stock, but you're not making a move in stocks that matter, like Etsy, Tesla, Amazon. You're not moving the needle there.
Do you think that this will help retail investors get more involved, or do you think it will discourage just people as they lose money. You know, for example, what's happened today with GameStop and AMC, like this thing is tanking and you have diamond hands, but what's the point of diamond hands if, you know, it's going down so fast? I mean, yeah. What's your kind of take on all this?
Diamonds are very sharp and they cut deep. So there's a danger with, I don't care if this goes to zero. The big danger is people getting just disconnected completely from ever investing again. And this was a fear that I started having on my birthday. When Robinhood started restricting trades, I really started getting fearful that, this could be something where, like, hey, like if you're listening to this, like, look, I support the movement, but be aware, like, you know, it's okay to take profits. Nobody, like other than YouTubers or people who are public in the media, nobody's going to look at your portfolio and go, you were weak hands. Like, if you had a profit, take a freaking profit, okay? Don't get scarred to the point where you're never going to want to invest again. And there's a big problem now that people have gotten used to. Oh my God, I can go into a stock. It can go up 30, 40, 50, 100% in a day, you know, and then they get burned. That's bad because what does it do? Well, it makes them think, why would I invest in Etsy? It's only up 5%. That's nothing. You know, there's a big problem in people's psyches right now. They're like, well, in 2020, I made 80% of my portfolio. Yeah, so did every other monkey who hit a dart, you know, threw a dart at a board. Like, the problem with that is people think that it's realistic to keep these gains going year and year after year. Warren Buffett's long run average rate of return was like 17%, right? Which is extremely good. But people don't realize that. I think there's going to be a lot of pain because people are going to go, how am I going to get back to an 80% rate of return? And they're going to do reckless things with too much of their portfolio.
Yeah. I mean, do you notice at all, like there's like some political, sociological kind of like bent into kind of the whole movement sometimes? Let's say with GameStop, it's not purely just, it feels like a squeeze play or to make money, but it seems charged with more than that, right? It's like, I don't care if this goes because I'm trying to stick it to the hedge funds, to Wall Street. Yeah. But where is that coming from? And it seems like there's a lot of dissatisfaction, right, with how not just government, but how certain things are set up and rigged against, let's say, you know, the average person. And do you foresee this just continuing where, you know, you have political discontent growing at large and also affecting, you know, how people, you know, what they do, what they invest in, and I don't know, where is this all headed in your opinion?
Yeah, you're always going to have social movements. I mean, that's never going to change. There's always going to be a movement for something. That's obviously the movement tentatively has been amplified around, for example, GameStop. And you know, I put $13,000 into GameStop to be part of the movement, but I didn't advocate people buy GameStop. I advocated, hey, like, it's okay. The door's right there. It's okay. But you have to be careful with that because I don't want to come across as like there's a tough balance for this, because if you like, when I made a video going, folks, we've got an inflection point on Friday. The search trends are declining. The door's right there. It's okay. I got a lot of dislikes. I got a lot of people going, this guy's a shill for the suits. He thinks the stock's going to cool off over the weekend, calling an inflection point on media. It's hard to convey what I truly believe. So that's where I try to be as clear as I can. And as clear as I was, look, I will put $13,000 into this, which is a fraction of my overall, you know, portfolio. And $13,000, $20 million, it's nothing, right, relative to the portfolio. $13,000 is a lot of money for a lot of people, don't get me wrong. But that's a movement play. That's not an investment. If you're up, take the door. But conveying that is really, really difficult, especially when you start seeing the signals change and you share that warning, because social media is a place where, here's the thing. Here's a quick note on the algorithm, okay? And this will make a lot of sense. If I do a video on nano dimension, is that video going to get promoted to people who hate nano dimension? Of course not, because people who hate nano dimension aren't going to click on a nano dimension video. Mm-hmm. So guaranteed that video I make about nano dimension is going to go in front of bulls on nano dimension. So if I do what I did with Hyliion, which I had to delete that video and redo it, where I make a Hyliion video, Hyliion in the title, Hyliion in the thumbnail, Hyliion in the tags, I'm getting in front of every bull who's bullish on Hyliion. And I go, I got concerns. I'm in the line of fire. I get unsubs, dislikes, hate, because I'm in front of all the bulls giving the bear thesis, right? Mm-hmm. That's a problem. So you have to be very careful on social media with how you convey. And so I refilmed my Hyliion video, and I had to rebrand the video a little bit. And so the second video did much better. But rather than going, I'm really concerned, I had to say, hey, like, it's okay to book some profits here because, look, if you want to stay in this, be aware of this, this, and this. It's the same thing I did with GameStop. Be aware of this, this, and this. And then people got to make their own decisions. Unfortunately, that's what social media does.
Yeah. I mean, it's fascinating. I've done several Bitcoin interviews, and I kind of bring on, some really prominent thinkers, and I share some long-term kind of concerns I have. I make it clear that I'm actually short-term. I can see a lot of demand. I can see the price go up. I'm not a short-term bear by any means, but just because I bring up some concerns long-term, I guess the video gets viewed by, Bitcoin bulls, and they interpret, oh, Dave's, a Bitcoin bear when I'm not. I say it. And so it's like, yeah, it's interesting how people, I think they tend to just kind of, I don't know, it's controversial topics are very loaded, right? And if you bring up the other side, they tend to just box you in. Oh, you're the enemy, right? You're just like against us or something. Yeah, interesting.
You become the face of being anti. And it's dangerous because I made a video on December 29th, a warning for a potential Bitcoin crash in January.
Yeah.
I was refreshing my YouTube analytics, and my subscriber count was falling every refresh. And I'm like, okay, deleting that video. Never remade that either. I'm like, that's it. Nope, no thanks. I'm just trying to share perspective. But yeah, sometimes you gotta be really careful of that. So you're right. You can quickly become the face of a fall, which unfortunately, like for Robinhood, that's Robinhood right now in the face of the GameStop fall.
Yeah. What's your rationale for some of your thumbnails? I've gotten several comments of people. I mean, I guess it's somewhat controversial, right? Sometimes a title could be a little bit more fear-driven, or a thumbnail. How do you kind of view that and rationalize all that?
Yeah, it's a really difficult balance. It's something where, look, we talk about. You do a video that's like, why electric vehicles are the biggest investment you can make in the decade of 2020. Dude, nobody's going to click on that. And the reason nobody's going to click on it is because there's no urgency. And urgency is something that has to be conveyed, and you have to actually provide a reason for that urgency in the video. So, for example, if you talk about, let's say, the electric vehicle bubble, okay, this is interesting. That I want to know about this because I'm invested in electric vehicles. What's going on? And you go, hey, here's a thesis of this analyst saying we could be in a bubble. This could happen, then this could happen, then this could happen. Here are my thoughts on that. Well, what that does is it helps educate the viewer that, okay, that's potentially a perspective I could use to counter the fear that a bubble might be coming. So if prices go down, I know I could double down and diamond hands. But that's never going to reach somebody with a title like, EV, whatever that I said, the greatest decade for investing in EVs. Like it's not how it works. My first YouTube video ever that did really well was what Graham Stephan isn't telling you. And it's like, oh, well, what is it? What's he not telling you? You can't put your head in the sand and fall victim to the comments like, man, meet clickbait Kevin. Whatever. The more hate I get, the more I realize I'm growing. Anytime you grow, you get hate. And that's just the way it works.
Would you say? I mean, what would you say to people who would say, like, okay, for everyone who watches your video, let's say it's something about, is a real estate crash going to come or something, and who gets educated and who's able to come up with both sides and, understand that maybe you're saying, hey, this is overblown fears. For every person who watches that video, there are 5 or 10 people who don't watch the video who just see the thumbnail and get scared and make a conclusion just based on the title. I mean, does that concern you at all? Or are you just like, well, if they watch it, they'll know, they'll get educated?
No, I roll my eyes at that.
Mhm.
There was even I mean, there have been other YouTubers. They
Mhm.
will literally make a video bagging on me.
Yeah.
They're like, "Oh, Kevin says the market's gonna crash," and then they're like, "Thumbnail, thumbnail, thumbnail, thumbnail." Well, it's not crashing. He's wrong, and it's hilarious because then people who watch my channel, they'll go in the comments and they're like, "Dude, if you watch the video,
Yeah.
it make a lot more sense." It just makes them look bad. If they want to bag on me, whatever. Like I'm not gonna like fight back. I'm not gonna name names. I don't care. I'm over that. I used to do that. You know, oh, so and so exposed. That's not what I do anymore. Now I want to
Yeah.
provide my perspective and my value. If you want to hear what I have to say about the Fed or electric vehicles or my next stocks or whatever, listen in and hopefully you get value. My goal is just what can I do to make sure that every time I have a video, somebody's listening and they're like, damn, I never thought about it that way. That's what I want. Like there's got to be a damn, never thought about it that way moment in there.
Yeah. I mean, I'm picking up like with financial media and news that because it's presented in such a, I would say maybe more shallow way with, let's say, typical financial media, I think people like are yearning for this deeper take, like another angle. If someone can give, the pros and cons and explain it better, it seems that's valuable because, let's say the CNBCs or the Bloombergs, they tend to just kind of gloss over things, do headlines. Are you picking up on that at all? Like, hey, if I can actually, weigh the pros and cons, both sides, multiple angles, this is interesting for me and for my audience.
Oh, I think that's key. If you can have a non-biased, opinion on something and provide both sides, and then assign maybe values to those pros and cons,
Yeah.
totally, we need way more of that because usually, people go straight hype, right? It's like I just want to hear all the good, and people will continuously try to reinforce only all the good. It's almost the downside. Like when I do a Tesla video, I don't only say the good. In my Tesla videos, I'm like, this is a concern. This is bad. I'm pissed off at the deliveries. I'm pissed off at the margin. I'm pissed at this. And I'll get hate for that. They're like, oh, Kevin, you're pissed about, you're short-sighted or this or whatever. And I'm like, no, I'm analyzing both sides. I can be pissed in the short term and bullish in the long run. But providing both sides is so important because for me, if something went bad in an earnings report, I want to know about it. But not only do I want to know about it, I want to understand how to defend that. If I'm a permabull and somebody comes up and goes, Kevin, why did they miss margin? And I'm only looking at bullish stuff, I'm like, I don't know, but Tesla to the moon. That's a problem. Like that's uneducated, right? That's an issue. But if somebody says, Kevin, Tesla missed margin or Tesla solar cells are declining, what's your take on that? I'll talk to you for 20 minutes about both of those things. It's not a problem. I can defend it. And this is why both sides is so important. So you saying, hey, weigh the pros and cons, so important. But unfortunately, yeah, there's a mass. Like there are hordes of people who are only looking for positives. And I think that's a big message to anybody listening is that always listen to the negative thesis.
Yeah. Yeah. I know you've got a Robinhood CEO interview coming up shortly. I'm excited to listen to that. What do you think? I mean, are you prepared? Is it really going to be a transparent interview here? Or, I mean, are your hands tied? I mean, can you even share this?
Sure. Yeah. I think I'm in a pretty crappy position because, look, I was a debater in high school, right? I know how to destroy somebody in a debate. But the problem is you can't do that. Even though that's what the people want to see, nobody's ever going to go on a podcast with you in the future. So it's kind of like when I had my Peter Schiff interview, I didn't debate what he said. I asked him pointed questions. And then his response is what people should be able to interpret themselves. For example, I said bluntly to Peter Schiff, what if you're wrong? And his answer is something people can interpret themselves. And so these are the kind of questions that, I plan to ask very fair questions, but also pointed questions to let people make up their own mind. It's just supposed to be an open dialogue.
Yeah.
I know, and this is a problem. I know after this, there are going to be people that are like, man, Kevin was weak, should have been harder. There's a balance. Because if you want to ever be able to talk, like have a potential part 2 interview, you can't burn somebody down. And that's not my intention. My intention isn't for anybody to get burned down either. I want to see people succeed. I want Peter Schiff to succeed. I mean, even though some of his things are counter what I believe, maybe I don't want some of his things to succeed because they would hurt me. I don't want him to be wrong. It's never the goal. And for Robinhood, Robinhood's a little unique in that sense because I get no benefit out of Robinhood sucking or failing. I think we as a society win if we get more insight into, what really happened, and hopefully people can see. And I don't know, but who knows? Hopefully, Robinhood. I mean, if Robinhood ended up getting screwed by the man, which it somewhat sounds like might be the case, then I feel bad for Robinhood. And so, but people have to make their own decision.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad Robinhood is coming, or Vlad is coming out, because this is, we talked about this last week. This is the opportunity where they could just open up, share their story, let people decide. And I think it's definitely a positive move. So I appreciate you taking that step to, get that interview. And I think it's going to help out a lot of people.
Well, thank you for your insights then, too. I appreciate that, because we talked about that.
Yeah. All right, Kevin, I want to let you go, but thank you for joining my channel. Do you have any other last words for people watching?
No, I think what you're doing is great. You asked some really good questions here. Appreciate that as well. Some things I haven't even thought of. So thank you for that. Yeah, keep doing what you're doing, man. Just keep grinding here on YouTube, because I know people love the value you provide. I love the value you provide. And thank you.
Awesome. All right, Kevin, we'll talk to you soon. And see you later.
Thanks. Bye.
Okay, bye.